WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this snowy, foggy, slippery Monday afternoon. 27 degrees outside Fargo, some scattered snow showers, a few pockets of some light freezing drizzle. I'm Meteorologist Justin Storm with WDAY Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, good afternoon. How's your day going? It's just you in studio. I feel bad.
Don't feel bad, but this is weird. I'm never the only one here. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Thankfully, we've got our trusty producer, Jacob, running the board, so I don't actually mess things up.
I know Dean took his extra day off today, and I had to cover his morning shift, so I didn't have enough time to squeak on down there to Fargo. So hopefully you can entertain yourself by yourself down there.
I think I'll be okay. If you see me flying paper airplanes, though, help is needed. We should be all right.
I think we'll be all right. Well, we got some fun things coming up on the show. Do you want to talk about who our guests are going to be joining us at 1:20 this afternoon?
You know, we always have something fun and different. And today we're going to be visiting with the folks with the Mennonite Mobile Canning Crew. Okay, now that sounds like a lot. And how is that related to what you and I talk about every day with Weather and Ag? Well, these folks are going into our small, local, rural communities. They are bringing in a crew with this mobile unit, which is actually like a great big trailer. And what they're doing is taking local beef or local pork, and they're processing that and canning it, and then it gets sent out worldwide to help combat hunger. I call that agricultural based if I've ever heard it. Rural communities fighting hunger everywhere.
Oh, definitely. And we got some fun ag topics we're going to talk about today, and a place we don't usually always talk about, but Puerto Rico, and they'd like to be included in part of the Farm Bill. So that'll be interesting to see what's going on and get their perspective from things. And I got a feeling it has something to do with being a U.S. territory. Is that correct?
That would be. They are looking to have some of the same they have some of the same concerns that the rest of the 50 states do. I was going to say the lower 48, but as a territory, they also have some additional things that they don't necessarily get. And let's visit about that and how that could affect the upcoming Farm Bill.
Yeah, we'll talk about the, I hope I don't butcher this, and I'm totally going to, so help me out if I do. It's the Ogallala Aquifer.
The Ogallala Aquifer, which is primarily focused under the state of Nebraska, but it also reaches into Kansas, and they're having to make some tough decisions about that aquifer, which relate to weather.
Yes, that'll be fun to talk about. And our last topic that we're going to attempt to get to today, if we have enough time, is the government forces railroads to deliver to poultry feed in California.
Well, they better. We need more eggs. That would maybe help us lower the price out there just a little bit, huh?
I know. And we all know that those eggs are getting so expensive. So we'll touch on that and so much more. We'll join our guests at 1:20 this afternoon. We'll check the forecast. That's important. We have a winter weather advisory in effect throughout the valley. How long is it going to be kind of crummy outside, and when are the roads going to be not so slick? I'll let you know coming up here right after ABC News.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Biden will spend this Martin Luther King Day speaking at an event in Washington, D.C., the National Action Network address following his appearance at Dr. King's Church, Ebenezer Baptist in Atlanta on Sunday. The White House, meantime, insisting they are fully cooperating with the special counsel investigating those classified documents found at the president's Delaware home. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Classified documents from Biden's time as vice president were first discovered at his private office in Washington in early November. But sources tell ABC News the documents discovered at Biden's Wilmington home, first in his garage in December, and then in an adjacent room in January, were the tipping point for the Attorney General Merrick Garland to appoint a special counsel. Republicans who have shown little interest in investigating Donald Trump's handling of classified documents are now pouncing on the president.
The National Weather Service has finished its assessment of the tornadoes that ripped across Alabama last week, killing 7 people.
Winds topping 150 miles per hour ranked the Alabama storm as an EF3 tornado. The twister marched across 76 miles of countryside and small towns, at times 0.8 of a mile wide. But today,
we'll be all right.
Reverend Leota Strong leads the historic Brown Chapel AME Church in Selma.
The outcome might be that it might cause us to see that we really need each other even more.
His church and others across Alabama were packed on the first Sunday after the killer tornado. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
The investigation goes on in the southeastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro following a deadly airstrike on an apartment building. ABC's Matt Gutman is there.
The death toll from Saturday's strike rising to 43 of them children. Over 70 wounded and dozens remain unaccounted for. It's now one of the deadliest Russian strikes on civilians since the start of the war.
The investigation also continuing into the deadly Nepalese plane crash that's believed to have killed 72 people on board. You're listening to ABC News.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, Maria in Miami, and Jules in Troy, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Grainger, we're here for you with high-quality supplies for every industry, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ew, the toilet sneeze. Every flush spews bacteria onto surfaces that little Bobby touches and then spreads to the light switch and everywhere else in the house. Yuck. So Dad uses Microban 24 to help stop the spread. It's the only sanitizing spray with a long-lasting shield that keeps killing 99.9% of bacteria on surfaces for up to 24 hours. Be confident you're protecting your family with Microban 24. Don't just sanitize it, Microban it.
Farmers know a thing or two about being tough, and they hold their wheat to that same standard. Their fields need to be able to take on anything, because there's no telling what tomorrow has in store. That's why Westbred brand wheat offers varieties like the new WB 9606, offering good stress tolerance, and WB 9719, offering outstanding yield potential and excellent standability. Meet your standards of excellence. Plant Westbred. Performance may vary.
When it comes to cereal disease protection, Prosaro Pro 400 SC fungicide from Bayer makes all the difference. With 3 effective active ingredients for overlapping control of foliar and head diseases, and a flexible application window for head scab, it's formulated to lower DON, protect yield potential, and promote superior grain quality. Prosaro Pro, the future of plant health starts here. Visit prosaropro.com to learn more. Always read and follow grain marketing and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 1:11 this afternoon, a meteorologist Justin Storm with Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And if you'd like to join in on our conversation, join the show, drop a comment, feel free to do so. Give us a call. We want to hear from you. 701-293-9000. Also, if you got any road reports out there, because it is a bit slick, again, that phone number to call into our studio is 701-293-9000. Now, Bridgette, before we take a look at that forecast, why don't we touch on what's going on down in Puerto Rico, because they want to be included in this farm bill.
Well, they do, and I can understand why. As a U.S. territory, Puerto Rico does indeed have some of the same rights and responsibilities, I think we could say, as the rest of our states. But one area in which they express concern is with SNAP benefits, and that's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This program is available through USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and it also is part of the Farm Bill. If you recall, the Farm Bill of that, 86% of that Farm Bill constitutes food, nutrition, school programs, those types of things. And when Tom Vilsack, who's Ag Secretary for the U.S., was recently in Puerto Rico, and that was for the American Farm Bureau annual meeting, Vilsack talked with the governor in Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico said, it's time that we get the same nutritional assistance as our fellow American citizens. Tom Vilsack agreed with him, but said it's really not up to the USDA to make that decision. It's up to Congress because of what happens within the Farm Bill. And secondly, there's some work that needs to be done. They would need to actually build the government structure within Puerto Rico in order to administer that program effectively. So a couple of things have to come into play. Again, this block grant, it would provide food assistance to low-income households with a fixed amount of federal funding. And this is just one of the pieces that will continue to be talked about when it comes to the Farm Bill as of late.
I see. And what was that you said that they needed to have within Puerto Rico, the government agency to do so, that they would need to build or have established? What was that again?
Well, just the structure for it, right? The people to administer the paperwork, that type of thing.
I see. All right. Very, very interesting. Well, why don't we take a look at the forecast here real quick and see what's going on around the area. And we got a few scattered snow showers throughout the Southern Valley right now, and we're going to see those continuing throughout the rest of today. It's not going to snow all day everywhere, but it may snow periodically multiple times throughout the day, and mainly right now south of I-94. Like I said, that's going to be ongoing. There are some pockets of a wintry mix, some freezing drizzle out there. Not much for ice accumulation, but just enough to make the roadways a bit slick out there with just a little glaze of some ice. Temperatures right now, 27 degrees. We have a wind at a north wind at 16 miles per hour, and it'll be sticking around 10 to 20 today, gusting to 25, with temperatures approaching near 30 degrees. So temperature-wise, it's not going to be too bad out there, but with the freezing drizzle, the snow, the wind, it will reduce visibility and cause roadways to be a little slick. And in return, a winter weather advisory has been issued, and that's in effect until 9 o'clock this evening. Throughout the rest of tonight, we will see some more scattered snow showers around the area. Temperatures will hold in the mid and upper teens. We'll have a northwest wind on the windy side, gusting to 30 miles per hour. And for your Tuesday, a few more scattered snow showers around the area. Otherwise, it's going to remain mostly cloudy. We'll have a northwest wind gusting to 25 miles per hour, with temperatures hovering around 20 degrees in the afternoon. And those light snow showers will wind down by Tuesday evening and Tuesday night. Most of our area just going to see a light dusting to about 2 inches of snow, although a few spots in the Southern Valley could see 3. And I am watching one area that could potentially see the most snow, and that looks to be setting up between Allendale and Ashley up towards Jamestown and Castleton, and then over from Cooperstown to Hillsborough. So to kind of generalize that area, that's going to be just west of the Southern Valley and then into the Central Valley, where the potential for 2 to 5 inches of snow will exist if the snow bans, and it bans through the rest of tonight, which is a possibility. So we'll leave that out there for an expected outcome into your Tuesday night. The rest of our week, it's not looking too bad. Maybe a snow flurry or two on Wednesday and Thursday. Otherwise, mainly cloudy with temperatures around 20 and a north wind around 10 miles an hour. Although if you do have plans traveling south Wednesday or Thursday, say southern South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, southern Minnesota, or Wisconsin, they will be dealing with another major winter storm that will bring a widespread area of 4 to 10 inches of snow, with potential for 10 to 16 inches of snow in Nebraska and parts of Iowa. So definitely going to be some impactful through that area.
When is that all set to start? Because I feel like you're sneaking this one in on me.
This is going to be heading in Wednesday and Thursday, probably starting overnight Tuesday in Nebraska.
All right. Well, for those who are headed south, game on. Keep an eye open for everything that could be happening.
You don't have traveling plans, do you? Because it seems anytime we get a big storm, you got to go drive through it.
God bless. I don't have to go anywhere right now. Now, next week, you and I are going to have a little talk about that.
Oh, all right. Well, we can talk about that later on in the show. And, again, I want to encourage anyone out there, if they have any road reports, let other people know that are listening where you're heading to, where you just came from, what the roads are like, so they know what to anticipate. Give us a phone call. We want to hear from you, and so do the other people that are out there. 701-293-9000 is our studio line. Again, that phone number is 701-293-9000. You can also use that to call in with any questions or comments, whether they're weather or ag related. And it's also the same number you can call to join in with our guests that will be joining us here after our short break. And Bridgette, do you want to introduce again who our guests are going to be that will be joining us in about 3.5 minutes?
I would be happy to. And we're going to visit with folks from the Mennonite Mobile Canning Committee. And this is a mobile canning unit. And when I think of canning, I think about like the glass jars I'm using in my hot water bath canner at my house. This is not that. These are bringing crews of volunteers together in rural areas. They are canning meat supplies that are then sent to other areas around the globe, actually, to help combat hunger. And what goes better together than the spirit of volunteerism in small communities as well as being able to do good for global hunger. Well, that's why we're going to talk about it on Weather and Ag today, right here on our station, WDAY. We're going to catch up after this with our guests, and Justin and I will also continue to talk about weather headlines and the ag headlines as well. We'll be right back.
I'm North Dakota Soybean Council Director Rob Rose from Wimbledon. Best of the best in wheat and soybean research and marketing workshops will be held Wednesday, February 8th in Grand Forks at the Alaris Center, and Thursday, February 9th in Moorhead at the Courtyard by Marriott. The North Dakota State University and the University of Minnesota Extension, along with commodity boards, have joined together to present producers with current research information. In this workshop, farmers will have the opportunity to learn from researchers and extension specialists. These sessions are free and co-sponsored by the North Dakota Soybean Council. Registration is requested. Visit mnwheat.org for more details.
The famous chips, the potato chip, the chocolate chip, the computer chip, the poker chip, the paint chip, and the windshield chip. Glass Doctor of Fargo Moorhead wants to remind you that the difference in temperature outside and inside your vehicle can make a little chip grow into a real budget buster. So make your repair or replacement appointment today at Glass Doctor of Fargo Moorhead. Call or go online at glassdoctor.com/Fargo. That's glassdoctor.com/Fargo.
Call the Glass Doctor, we'll fix your paint.
Red River Valley Co-op Power is making your resolution to save easier this year with great electric rebates. Earn up to a $1,500 rebate or more on select heating equipment and a $750 rebate on an electric vehicle charger. On top of the rebate, you get reduced electric rates if eligible and participating in off-peak, nearly half the standard rate. It's going to be a money-smart year for Red River Valley Co-op Power members. Give them a call, 218-456-2139.
For 20 years, Kilborn Group has invested in historical redevelopment and mixed-use infill designed to create a vibrant 18-hour city. As downtown Fargo grows, so does demand for living in this walkable neighborhood. We have 2 new Opportunity Zone projects underway to meet that demand, and we invite you to invest with us. Both are Class A multifamily projects with market-leading amenities like smart apartment technology, butterfly package rooms, and pet-centric services. For more on our Opportunity Zone investment fund, click invest at kilborngroup.com. That's kilborngroup.com.
West Funeral Home in your difficult time.
Have you planned for all your life's events? At West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center, we would be honored to have that talk of a lifetime with you. Through pre-planning, we will help honor and celebrate your journey on Earth so you can leave your family a lasting, treasured memory. Discover the difference.
West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center. Little things make the difference.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director, along with meteorologist Justin, Storm Extraordinaire. It's your time to shine, man. We got nothing but snowfall to the west, so thanks for bringing all that up for us. Much appreciated.
You're very welcome, Bridgette.
And I say that with sarcasm. I hope you do too. All right. For those who are joining us now in our 120 segment of this hour, I am introducing folks from the Mennonite Mobile Canning Committee. And this was an article that I read about in the Tri-State Neighbor and was just very curious. What does this all entail? Because it doesn't sound like the canning most of us are used to in our kitchens. And I'd like to introduce Joemiller and Maynard Knepp. I think I have your names right. And I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. I'm going to start with you, Joe. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do with this operation.
It's good to be with you, Bridgette. Great to have this opportunity to share together. So I have served for 25 years as a Mennonite pastor across the United States in a couple of locations, and then had this opportunity to work with our Mennonite Central Committee mobile canner. And so now I serve half time as a bishop in the Mennonite Church, and then my other half I serve with the mobile canner.
Excellent. Maynard, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm been involved with the mobile canner since 2006. And my job is to raise resources, money to purchase the meat for local communities to do the canning. And I'm also a hobby farmer. I have a small farm that I work at Hillsboro, Kansas, and run some cattle, livestock.
All right, you are hands-on in the operation, and that's going to lead us to a lot more questions about like where you're sourcing meat and so forth. But first of all, gentlemen, I'm going to start with Maynard. Can you describe what you're doing in this mobile canner operation? I mean, in my head, like I said, I'm thinking about the jars that I use in my home kitchen when I'm canning at the end of my garden season, but that's not what you're doing. Can you give us a better description?
Yeah, this is a mobile cannery that is in a tractor trailer. And Joe, I think it's around 45 years that it's been in operation, and it goes from community to community where people raise money to buy meat that is USDA inspected, and local communities get together with volunteers and pay for the meat and do the canning.
When you are talking about gathering up all these volunteers, Joe, how many communities do you go to? How many volunteers do you need in each community to run this operation? Because you're starting from ground zero, correct? I mean, this is just boxed beef or pork coming in that you're working with, correct?
That's correct. The one thing that is a huge advantage is that we have been canning actually for 70 years, and many of the communities, all of the communities that we go to have canned annually. So they have a real great base of support in each community. They have local canning committees that organize their home community. So we figure about 150 people per day for canning the meat. And that's all the way, you're exactly right, from raw meat that comes off a reefer, and we process it. And as Maynard said, it's USDA inspected, so inspectors are there most of the time. And then it's boxed up and then sent to our warehouse in Pennsylvania for shipping around the world.
I'd see. And you said that you go from community to community across the area. How far is that reach? How far out do you guys go from community to community?
So the furthest north we get is Freeman, South Dakota. And we go down to Oklahoma, and Kansas is as far west as we get. And then we go all the way across the eastern part of the United States to Virginia and up into New York State. So we go to 30 different communities. Almost all of them are Amish or Mennonite, Hutterite communities.
Okay.
Wow.
So Maynard, I'm going to ask, can you give me a little background? How did this process start? If you guys have been doing this for 70 years, and maybe if I'm asking the wrong person, let me know, but how did this start, and what was the size and scope then versus what you're doing now?
Yeah, Joe would probably have a better answer to that. It started in my own home community in Hillsboro, Kansas, where a group of people were aware that there's protein needed for relief. We're an organization that's been doing relief work for over 102 years. And so there was a recognition that there needed to be protein, and many of our communities are producers of meat, and so this was one way to get protein to communities. But Joe would have probably a better response to that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so it's exactly right that after World War II, we Mennonites recognized that there was a terrible need in Europe for just a lot of hunger, and we started shipping meat to Europe. And then over time, we realized that while Europe didn't need canned meat anymore, we started to shift in realizing that many countries where there's refugee camps or there's been war just needed protein. So we now ship to many different countries. We ship to partners in each location who are on the ground and know the needs and are able to make sure that the meat is used in correct ways and good ways. One of the example would be that we ship quite a bit of meat into Ethiopia, the country in Africa, Ethiopia, but it is going to people who have had to flee Sudan and fled into Ethiopia. So there are huge refugee camps there. And then we send quite a bit of meat. That's just one location where we would send meat.
Okay, there's going to be a lot of questions off of that. Oh, go ahead, Maynard.
I would follow up on that. The way I got involved was that I was asked to go to Burundi in Africa after the genocide in 2006, or the Hutu-Tutsi conflict, where millions of people were genocided. And there was a tremendous need there, and there had been meat shipped there for a food for work program. And I was asked to go there to see where the meat goes, how it is used, and how it affects people. And it literally was a life-changing experience for me, and decided that I wanted to get involved. And it was a tremendous program that I really didn't know a lot about. But when I went to see and meet the recipients and hear the thank yous and how it impacted their community was amazing.
So with this process starting out, we're going to need to visit a little bit more about where you start with your volunteers, how many funds need to be raised, how many volunteers you need at a site, and then really walking through all the way from the time that meat is thawed until it's canned, what that process looks like through the trailer. We're about to hit the bottom of the hour, though, and so we need to touch base with some of our sponsors, et cetera, before we get a chance to do that. And when we return, we're going to continue this discussion with Joe and Maynard. They are with the Mennonite Mobile Canning Unit, and I hope I remember to say all those letters right, because there's a lot of them. And we'll continue that discussion as we visit with them here on Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY.
Hey, some big news. The 2024 election could be America's last one. That's the shocking conclusion of best-selling author David Horowitz. In his new book, The Final Battle, David Horowitz reveals a secret war underway in America. Democrats' woke culture and a new generation are destroying our culture and ending our freedoms. Horowitz says their plan is taking place in our schools, our churches, even in our military. This week, you need to watch David Horowitz on the Chris Salcedo Show as he reveals the real threat of Biden, Obama, big media, and more. Horowitz names names. So tune in today to Newsmax, the network I watch, and see Chris Salcedo and David Horowitz. And make sure you get a copy of The Final Battle. Newsmax calls it the best book of 2023. In bookstores everywhere, or get the free offer and save $28. Just go online to finalbattle611.com. Finalbattle611.com and get your free copy today. And be sure and watch Newsmax today.
Think about this winter. You're going along snow blowing, and then you hit that uneven sidewalk or a large crevice in your driveway. The blower hits you right in the gut, and your hands hurt. Have you had enough?
Ramjack North can help. Level that concrete and put an end to your pain. Contact us now for a free estimate and to learn more at pccnd.com. That's pccnd.com. And have an easy winter.
Do you suffer from stiff, achy, chronic knee pain? Have you been told you have arthritis? Is knee pain keeping you from enjoying your favorite hobbies? If so, the next 60 seconds could change your life. Please listen carefully. If we find you are a candidate for our unique approach, we will do a trial treatment, and day one you will know without a doubt if we can help you. Pick up the phone right now and call 701-502-6200. And best of all, we may be able to reduce and even eliminate your knee pain without pills, shots, or surgery. Due to limited capacity, you must call now at 701-502-6200. Hurry. Call now to find out if you qualify for our program that is changing lives and helping people save time, money, and agony. Call now 701-502-6200. You have nothing to lose, so call right now.
Attention business owners, did you know that burglary and theft in Fargo is nearly 2 times higher than the national average? Walmart recently said that if theft doesn't slow down, they'll have to raise prices and shut down stores. Target projects they'll lose $600 million in net profits this year due to theft. As a business owner, you need to protect your business and your profits. you need a security solution. And right now, for a limited time only, 702 Communications is offering business security solutions that will protect you, your business, your employees, and your profits. To find out if you qualify for a 702 Communications business security solution, call right now at 218-304-8676. Again, that's 218-304-8676. Imagine the peace of mind you'll have knowing that your security solution is monitoring your business 24/7, 365. That peace of mind is priceless. So call now at 218-304-8676. Again, 218-304-8676.
Hi, this is Kevin Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer's Auction Company. Pfeiffer's upcoming January 2023 auctions include 160 acres of good cropland in Burke County, 339 acres of cropland north of Dickinson in Dunn County, 305 acres of exceptional cropland in Cass County near Erie, 320 acres of highly productive cropland near Hope, North Dakota in Steele County, and 239 acres of exceptional cropland in Foster County near Kensel. View these auctions and many more land and equipment auctions at Pfeiffer's.com.
And welcome back to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with meteorologist Justin Storm. I just like introducing you that way, just so you know. Especially on a day with snow flurries here in the air in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And our guest today, that would be the gentleman from the Mennonite Mobile Canning Unit. And we're visiting with Maynard and Joe. They are very helpful in answering where this originated, this idea, and how we got to where we are today. And so the question I'm going to ask is, Joe, I heard you mention, and I think Maynard did too, that this all originated with the Mennonite communities back after World War II. Since that time, how has this changed? I mean, you have a semi-trailer that moves around. What used to happen in this process versus where you're at today?
Go ahead, Maynard. You can.
Well, what it used to happen is in local communities would bring in, they'd bring their cattle, their livestock into, for instance, my community in Hillsborough, Kansas, they'd bring the livestock right to the fairgrounds, and they'd be slaughtered and processed, meat cut off the bone, everything was done right there. And now because of changes in USDA laws and in our shipping requirements, of course, we have switched over to this mobile cannery, which is an all stainless steel trailer, and we bring in meat that comes from a packing plant that is all USDA certified meat comes in, fresh meat. And this year here in Hillsborough, we brought in 80,000 pounds. It cost us about $1.80 a pound to bring it in here, and then it costs us about what, Joe, I think 50 cents a can to have it canned, for the cost of the can and the fuel and everything to run the boilers that are in this mobile canner.
And, I was kind of wondering how this all kind of started. Like when you said it went back 70 years ago after World War II. Where were you getting the meat from then? Was it locally brought in, and then now it's been, kind of switched into the USDA?
Yeah. It used to be just farmers would bring in their livestock. In my home community, it was, farmers would bring their livestock in, and it was processed right there at the fairgrounds.
And what about with the meat? When it goes into the can, are you cooking it once you can it, or is it being cooked beforehand?
Yeah, so we put it in raw and then seal it, and then we put it into huge pressure cookers. And so the meat is actually cooked as part of our about an hour and a half, 2-hour process. And so that cooked meat, all we add to it is just a pinch of salt to each can. And we normally use chicken or turkey thighs. We can do pork and beef, but mostly we're doing poultry. And so the only product in the can of meat is the actual canned meat that's boneless, a pinch of salt. We seal it and then under extreme high pressure cook it. One of the advantages to having the meat cooked before we send it out is that in some places where we're sending the meat for relief, there is no place to cook. So a person can open up the can and eat it as it is because it's pre-cooked.
I see. And then that kind of leads into my follow-up question with it. You said, some places where you're sending it to don't have the ability to cook it or the means to. Do you only ship outside of the United States, or did this start internally and then you've moved out to a more global level?
No, it started internationally.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, it started to send to Europe right after the war. I think Mennonites recognized there was a lot of suffering that had occurred, and all across Europe, from Holland to just everywhere. So we started shipping canned meat there. And then we do say to each canning community that we encourage them to keep 10% of what they can for their local community. So many of the canning committees will do that. They'll give the meat to food banks or whatever they decide they want to use it for. But so we do encourage each community to keep 10% for their local use.
Oh, that's great.
So Maynard, if I could ask, walk us through the process. So the meat shows up. How many volunteers do you need at a site in order to begin this process? And how many hours does it take to get through what you're doing? Because you said roughly 80,000 pounds. How long does that take to get everything canned?
Yeah, we can can around 8,000 pounds a day. And it usually starts like at 5 o'clock in the morning. The first workers will come in and they'll bring the raw meat out of the refrigerated trailer, and it's put through a grinding process. And it gets ground, and then it gets put up and dumped into a warm-up where it's warmed up in a container, and people line up. It takes, I think, 8 people, if I'm not wrong, Joe, that put the meat into the cans, and you can see the picture right now. The cans go on this conveyor into the sealer, and there's usually 3 guys on the sealer, 1 to do the sealing and 2 to put it in these big containers that go into these big cookers. And here you can see the cans being put into the cookers. And there's, I think, 8, right, Joe, in this particular trailer that we have 8 cookers, and they are all, everything's computerized. It has to be a certain temperature, has to be cooked for a certain period of time. And this product, when it comes out, is a great product. And it can be stored in below 0 temperatures, or it can be in 100-degree plus temperatures. So you can take it anywhere in the world in any temperature. And
how long is your shelf life on it, Maynard?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
We don't know. We've had it for some years. We do kind of run through it, but we've never had a recall on our meat, which we're so grateful for. But it seems, kind of indefinitely, really. So it can last quite a few number of years, but we will ship it out pretty consistently, so that our warehouse just has always some coming in and some going out.
So Joe, I want to know, when do you start getting ready? So you said the furthest north y'all come is to Freeman, South Dakota. How far in advance do you begin the fundraising efforts, setting up volunteers, booking that trailer to show up? Is this a year in advance until you're ready for this unit to arrive? How would that process look?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we will start our actual canning season, where we have 4 young men who volunteer their time from October to May. So that's our canning season. And so we will start planning immediately after a season is finished, and then in the summertime, in late summer, we really ramp up and start contacting each local committee and letting them know what the plans are for the next year. It's pretty consistent year to year, so everybody sort of knows what they're doing. But we also need to, in the summer, we make sure that the canner is repaired and working well. We have to get the scales calibrated. So there are all sorts of things we do in the summertime. And then we start contacting the committees and we lay out a schedule. So we have a schedule that's well in place before we even start, from what are the dates that each community will have the canner come. It takes about 3 hours to set up and then take the canner down. What we do is we pull this semi-trailer in, and we can open up one side of the canner, and we seal that into the building that's also, like we keep saying, USDA inspected. And so, the planning, we're constantly connecting with the local committees, especially as we get close to their time of canning. The other thing we do is we have to have we have to inform the USDA regional offices where we will be, and so they can schedule their inspectors to come and be there. USDA has to come and do a pre-inspection, and so there's a lot of detail that goes on there. We feel so blessed to have a great relationship with USDA. We respect that they're really trying to have safe food, and we honor that and try. We see USDA as a real partner to us, and it has felt like a really good collaboration.
So as you mentioned, being that partner with USDA, and it's not easy to have an inspector on hand, so you do plan quite a bit ahead. They are doing a pre-inspection and a post-inspection, and when they do all of that, what's your output? How many cans are you're doing 8,000 pounds of meat a day. You're usually having 80,000 pounds of meat on hand. How many cans is that? Because I'm not here to do Midwest math. I just want to, you guys can break that down for me.
Yeah. Well, we think about it's not a perfect 1-to-1 ratio, but 1 pound, our cans will hold 1.5 pounds of meat. So if you have, I won't do the math, but if you have 8,000 pounds of chicken or turkey that you will get a little less. You'll
Sure.
get a little less than the 8,000 cans, sure. But it's pretty remarkable how fast the process works, and then we have to also mark every can, the date that it was canned and the location it was canned. So we are able, if there ever was a problem with unsafe food, that we could track back and pull all the food that had been canned in a certain time and location just for safety purposes. Yes, the USDA, they are there, and normally, our guys are trained. The 4 volunteer canners who are with the canner, they have training, USDA training on how to do thermal cooking, and so they're certified, and they serve for 2 years with the canner and travel with it and manage it for us. And then we as supervisors will go out, from time to time and just check in and make sure things are going well.
Great. And Maynard, I got a couple questions here for you. Is it just the one mobile unit, or do you have multiple mobile canning units?
No, we just have the one mobile unit, and it's the only one that I'm aware of in the world that exists.
Wow.
Okay, wow. And then kind of follow up with that, from your experience, what's the best way to get food into the hands for those who need it?
Well, we respond to when we are asked to ship. We don't just take meat out and distribute it. We respond to the needs. We have partners, for instance, in Ukraine right now, that have a tremendous need for protein, and so we've shipped there. We have a Brethren in Christ church in Cuba that has a tremendous need for protein, and so we're actually shipping from our warehouse here. We'll be shipping into Cuba to the Brethren in Christ church there.
Yeah, I might add to what Maynard said that our organization, Mennonite Central Committee, we talk about three things that we really get focused on. One is relief, and then development and peace. And so we see the meat canning and the food relief is a small part, really actually a very small part of what we do as an organization. We put a lot more energy into development. So we are working hard at ag development, how people can help, farmers can feed themselves in the various places around the world. Last summer, we invited, as an organization, we invited a Tanzanian agriculturalist to spend 6 weeks working with Amish farmers and learning together how farming can take place using animal power. So that's the kind of thing that we're also involved in, is the development. So that people, the old saying, people can help feed themselves.
Oh, great.
Well,
and
Joe,
this is my... go ahead, Maynard.
I would also follow up in Ethiopia, where they had a tremendous drought and people were really suffering because of the weather, the climate. People were eating their livestock because they were desperate. And so there was meat shipped into that area to help out. But then the development, after the relief, the development comes to also provide a goat program in the development and the care for goats, and how an education on how to produce their own meat rather than just relying on relief. That's a very, like Joe said, it's a very important part of the relief work, is also development and education, and do it in a just way.
I see. And then my last thing, and I'll let Bridgette get the last word in here after me, but can people donate their food through you guys? And can they donate anything other than meat? Do you do anything outside of that?
Go ahead, Maynard.
Well, no, they can't just donate their own meat unless it's run through a USDA packing plant somewhere. And we have in the past, we've done that, where we've processed hogs up when the trailer was taken up to Winnipeg, Canada, and where they processed around the clock there, and people actually donated their hogs when the hog price was really cheap, and we did can pork. But the best way is to give resources, financial resources, to where the local committees can go out and buy the meat. And of course, there's a cost in the logistics in getting this shipped. I mean, you can't just take it from our location here into Ukraine or Cuba or somewhere in Latin America without expenses. So we always welcome financial assistance in getting our product to where needed most around the world, and where we were asked to ship it.
Well, to Joe Miller and Maynard Knepp, thank you both. You are part of the Mennonite Central Committee and the Mobile Canning Unit. You answered so many great questions for us, and we appreciate it. And for those who wish to reach out, remember, you can find them with the Mennonite Central Committee. We are going to take this break to visit with American Ag Network and get an update on the markets. And again, we'll be right back.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with unbelievable extended end-of-year sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 888-74-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 888-74-STEEL Steel.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 888-74-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60-foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building. Act fast, because for a limited time only, General Steel is extending its end-of-year savings. Call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-747-8335. 888-74-STEEL.
Wildlife today need a sanctuary from pressures caused by sprawling development. The harsh impact of habitat loss demands we act now to protect wildlife species large and small. Do you own land wild animals call home? Wouldn't you love to see preserved for wildlife forever? As the only national land conservation organization that prohibits commercial and recreational hunting and trapping on land it protects, the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust can make your dream of a permanent safe haven for wildlife a reality. If you have land you want permanently protected or want to protect wildlife by saving land vital to their survival, contact the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust at 1-800-729-SAVE. That's 1-800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, safeguarding wildlife and your dream for the future.
Markets are closed for Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. You're listening to the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this market update. Let's take a look at how the market trade wrapped up the week on Friday. Row crops and winter wheat finished out the week higher, as overall grains and oilseeds had a positive response to Thursday's set of USDA reports that showed corn, soybean, and wheat stocks at relatively tight levels with more risk ahead. Wheat was a skeptical market initially with such a large 11% increase in U.S. winter wheat acreage, but traders eventually jumped on the positive tailwinds from the other markets. Those tailwinds became a bit more choppy as we worked into Friday. Soybeans continue to be the leader, though, in this market. Nonetheless, the conviction of the bulls lacked somewhat ahead of the three-day holiday weekend, with, again, the U.S. markets closed on Monday. For the week last week, we saw March corn up 21 cents, July corn up 15.5 cents. March soybeans ended up 35.25 cents. July beans were up 23.25 cents. March Kansas City wheat up 11.75 cents. March Chicago wheat up 1/4 penny, and March Minneapolis wheat was 10.5 cents higher. On Friday's trade, March corn was up 4.675. July corn up 2.25, 6.63 March beans up 9.25, 15.27 July beans up 6.5, 15.25. March bean meal down $5 a ton, 4.7630. March bean oil down 19.6306. March Chicago wheat was up 1.743 March Kansas City wheat up 8.75, 8.43 March spring wheat was unchanged at 9.12 February live cattle up 17, 157.72. April lives were down to 160.90. Feeder cattle January down 87, 181.25. February hogs down 10, 78.65. Crude oil Friday up $1.47 a barrel, 79.86. The Dow up 97 points. Again, no markets on Monday. For the American Ag Network, I'm Jesse Allen.
And welcome back to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 1:55 this Monday afternoon. Still 27 degrees outside the FM metro. Visibility being affected a little bit from some snow showers, a little fog, and there is some patchy freezing drizzle out there as well. So keep an eye on the roadways. They are a little slick, but for the most part, things are moving around okay here in town. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm here with Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, why don't we tackle another one of these ag topics here, and let's talk about this fun word, the Ogallala Aquifer.
I'm so glad that I get to teach you like a word of a day calendar every time we're doing ag stories. There's always something. I mean, wasn't it last week we talked about coccidiosis in cattle? And maybe not on this show, but I know I've talked about it a couple different times, but there's always something new. And the Ogallala Aquifer actually covers 175 square miles. If you think about the western states like Texas, New Mexico, all the way up into South Dakota, it's primarily thought of in Nebraska, but certainly underneath Kansas as well. And the Kansas Water Authority is telling lawmakers that Kansas needs to change its decades-long policy of slowing the depletion of the aquifer while still allowing water levels to drop. With the drought that's been going on in the western states, which we've talked about many times here on our show, that aquifer is going down faster than expected. Kansas produces 20% of the nation's wheat. 18% of the cattle being fed are in the state of Kansas, and the western third of Kansas, which had most of its portion of the Ogallala is located, it accounts for 60% of the value of all Kansas crops and livestock because of the aquifer. If this change is implemented, it would force farmers to either be cultivating fewer acres because they wouldn't have that irrigation to rely on. They may have to buy expensive equipment in order to turn over to a different crop that they may not be already raising. And we'd have to move that livestock, all those head out to other places, and not sure where they would go. Certainly can't happen fast. Making the statement is the easy part. What happens after that is yet to be resolved. But that is what's going on in Kansas right now. And as that drought worsens, maybe if it improves, that could change what's happening with the Kansas Water Authority. But that is, in fact, a discussion that's going to be taking place in their state legislature this year.
I see. And obviously you can't do much about the livestock because they kind of take in a set amount of water and more when they get in the drought conditions and it's hot.
They don't back away from a water fountain easily. How's that?
No, they do not. No, they don't. What other options might farmers have out there? I know that in the past we've talked about a lot with the difference of hybridizing plants and the genetics in them to make them a little bit more drought tolerant. Is that an option that's being done, or an option that maybe they're thinking about using is more drought resistant plants that don't necessarily need quite as much water as the general copy of it?
We could if they're there. But a lot of those plants haven't necessarily been brought to commercialization yet. A lot of them are still in the research phases and development. So as they move forward, yes, that's a possibility. What are some less water using crops? Well, there may be a call for more sunflowers, although Kansas is a large sunflower market already. Perhaps they would be using something like more winter wheat, etc. But the change in that also affects profitability, because if you make that change, you may not have the profit that you did prior to. And we're all here for profit, because otherwise this would just be a volunteer organization, and that's not how farming works.
No, it definitely is not. And I think that's about going to wrap it up for our show. I'll touch on the forecast here just briefly for the rest of today and tonight. Some pockets of a wintry mix, scattered snow showers ongoing throughout the day. There will be bands that produce moderate snowfall at times. Roads are being a little slick, but temperatures are holding pretty steady in the mid and upper 20s, a few low 30s over in the Lakes Country, but that winter weather advisory will remain in effect for Lakes Country and up and down the Red River Valley until 9 o'clock, where then some scattered snow showers will persist into your Tuesday. Most of the area, a light dusting to 2 inches, although 3 inches will be possible, and there is a portion of the Central Valley and just west of the Southern Valley that could potentially pick up 2 to 5 due to potential banding throughout tonight. But that'll do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. We thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM.